Hey, and welcome. Hey, and welcome, you guys. I hope you can hear me. Let's turn that down. As we get this thing started. I was debating on giving this one to you the same way I gave you guys Savage Beauty, totally off the camera, just my beautiful voice, giving you the story because it's a movie. And I debated on also doing this as a my 2 cents because your girl was about to do a full out breakdown and then a rant. But I said, you know what? I kind of almost put that to bed. I haven't done one of those in so long. So I'm just going to do a recap review for you of Tyler Perry's Divorce in the Black, premiered on Prime Video on July 11th. Your girl watched it the first day, and yeah, I have thoughts. I have things to say. I have lots of things to say. I have lots of notes. So we are going to try and get through this thing, okay? Because Tyler Perry, I mean, he's got us again. He does it to us every time, and we can only really be mad at ourselves at this point. But before we really get deep into the story and I give you the nitty-gritty of the whole thing, please, quick reminder, stick around to the end of the video. Go ahead and give the video a like, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, leave a comment in the comment section, share with your friends because sharing is caring, and please turn on those notifications because, well, you just never know. Me and YouTube, we all be on one. There is a trigger warning that goes for this movie. I will try to remember to say it again when we get to the parts because, like I said, you know, TP, he likes to hit on the things. Also, if you have never been to my channel, it's the summer. I have kids. Sometimes they're a little loud, so I try to keep them quiet, but if you hear them in the background, my apologies. Now I'm going to bring this voice down and give you the whole story. Now, maybe the first 10 minutes of this movie, it was a lot, okay? It was a lot of this movie. I had to really rewind it a couple of times to see exactly what was it we were watching here. So we're at a funeral where the pastor decides to take his time to speak to what a menace the deceased was. Oh, yes. And his brothers. You heard me right. And the mama ain't having it. I was like, wait a minute, because at first I was confused because we have Corey Hardrick here, and he plays Dallas. Megan Good plays Ava, his wife. And he's kind of brushing her off, and I'm like, well, what did she do to you, sir? And his mom is like, oh, this was all your fault. Well, her father is the pastor, and this is his brother. So, yeah. One of the sons, Dallas, is married to the pastor's daughter, Ava. So Pastor Clarence is the pastor. It's her daddy's name. He says that the deceased was fresh out of jail and he broke into someone in the congregation, an elderly person. At that, he broke into their home and they effed around and found out, if you will. Okay? So now he is no longer with us. And I said, well, I mean, maybe this wasn't the right time to give this exact message, but I mean, he wasn't wrong. I mean, I wouldn't have done it, but you know, I tend to be a little different. So Mama, she is too through. That's Dallas's mama. I forgot what her name is. I have it in my notes somewhere later. She's pissed off, so she starts to peeling off clothes, talking about she don't need these hand-me-downs, and thank God for her being a woman of a certain age, okay? Because Mama had a slip on, because otherwise she would have been standing there in her underwear. So she instructs her son. She's like, get your brother. And I think there's 5 of them in total. Well, now there's maybe 4 now because the one passes. 4 of them in total. So they start to lift up the casket and she's like, no, get your brother like out of the casket. I don't want to hear them talking about they paid for this casket. I said, yikes. Yikes. That's why I said it was a lot. TP went for the shock of it all. In the first, it was honestly 7 minutes. I say 10, but it was like 7 minutes. And this mom, she kind of was giving me Monique vibes from Precious. It was, I mean, baby, it was a whole lot. We could spend more time on it, but we won't. Like I said, a couple of things the pastor said, I was like, well, but you know, not everything that our children do is completely on us. Yes, I'm going to say that. But sometimes we do also have to do better, because this mama look like she ain't try to lick, Sometimes it's not all us, but sometimes you just got to give it that try as a parent before you wash your hands and be clean of it. Now, these are the Bertrands, and the Bertrand boys were a hot mess. So Pastor Clarence and Mama Jean, they're fed up and they're tired. They tried to raise Ava to be that black girl magic, and she's kind of here slumming it with Dallas. She's ready to run after her husband, and they're kind of like, what are you even doing here? But that's how they raised it. You got to be careful with that church upbringing, how we end up turning out. It's got its good things and, well, not so good things. And Dallas's family is not a fan of Ava, especially that mama. And we can see early on in the movie that Ava is one of those people that tries to make it work regardless. She said it early in the movie. She said it later on in the movie that she tried to be a dutiful wife. All of the the church teachings. When you're a PK, this is what we get. So we find out that she is indeed a saver. Okay, baby, she is definitely trying to do what she got to do to keep her man. So like I said, mama said, get the boy and let's go. So they lift this body up on out the casket and put it in the back of a pickup truck and head to their land, which is like a trailer. And they buried the body on the land. I said, yikes. Again, first 7 to 10 minutes of the movie. So Dallas, he's just prideful for no reason. I mean, you talk about unequally yoked. When they show you who they are, don't try to change them. And that's going to be one of our lessons. Because when we get to the end of this recap review, if you will, I'm going to give you what I took from it. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to share any of my experiences, baby, because this right here was enough. But we got, to be perfectly honest with you, a lot front loaded. So we got super duper excitement on the front end. And then we got a couple of scenes where, Dallas was just showing his A. And then, the rest of it was, just my personal opinion, but we'll get into it. So the night of the funeral, Dallas is in a drunken state. I left out some scenes because I didn't want to do a specifically a scene by scene, because this is a 2-hour movie. Now, that's another thing. This did not have to be 2 hours. A good hour and a half would have sufficed. But at one point, they didn't even want her inside the trailer. Mama fell asleep in the car only to wake up and he was gone. So she meets him over at the bar. So she gets him from the bar. We get him home. He's in this drunken state. And he reveals that his mama had him take his father out. And I kind of wish we delve more into that, but we don't even bring that back up to the end of the film. I said, baby, what? So she says that, he says that he wants help. And you think that would be a point of a fresh start? You would turn over a new leaf. You're crying out for help. And this woman has definitely been trying to help you. But we wake up the next day, and if it's a different day, same ish. I said, well, it is what it is. So we get this infamous dinner scene. Like I said, I tried to cut out. I don't want to make this too long. I kind of cut out a couple scenes, but they're supposed to be going out to dinner with their friends. We saw this in the trailer. Ava comes home and wants to take a shower. She's like, give me 45 minutes, because they literally had about an hour or so before they had to be at the dinner. And he was like, for what? Like, you don't do nothing but sit at a bank. And so she comes downstairs and he's left her. She drives herself over there because, she was taking too long. So he left. So when she finally gets there, he's twisted. He's had a couple of drinks. He's been loud. She starts talking. We see, like I said, we see in the scene, he's ignoring her. And when he does speak, you can only imagine some of the things that he's saying, because he's kind of like playing the victim and saying like, well, you don't like anything. You always have a problem with X, Y, and Z. And I was just like, I don't get that from her, but we let him have it. So they are with Jim and Rona. Now, Rona, she ain't feeling your boy. Jim is supposed to be Dallas's best friend, and Rona is his wife, and that is Ava's girl. Jen is just trying to have a chill dinner, but Rona, she's struggling, right? She's struggling not to come across that table and let Dallas have it, okay? But one of the things she also did say at the funeral was like, well, it wasn't as bad as the wedding. And hopefully I have in my notes, we're going to talk about that later. Baby, get you a Rona, okay? Get you a Rona, because Miss Rona is not here to play with Dallas. So Dallas starts to get loud, and he tells Ava he wants a divorce. Oh, you heard me right. He says he wants a divorce. She can keep the house. She's not getting it, and that's only because it's, her parents helped them with the deposit, I believe. But she's not getting no alimony. And I found this rich because I don't even know if Sir had it to give alimony, that is. But I was like, okay, sir. It's just, just embarrassing. Just embarrassing. Ava looks heartbroken, which, baby, he did you a whole entire favor, but go off, sis. And it's very clear early on that this man was emotionally abusive, but, Rona has decided, so she goes back to Ava's, and she's going to stay the night. But, Ava's kind of like, she's cool. But Rona done made a list like Santa Claus of all the awful things that this man has done. I was like, yikes. I mean, it was pages. I didn't realize it was pages at the time, but it was pages. And that's when we find out all of the bad things that this man has done to her, including trigger warning, being physical, like spitting on her. Just, that's the worst thing you could do to a person. And we find this out because she goes to her parents' house for a kind of refuge to get that, the love and the time that she needs. And her mom ends up reading a list. Now, I don't know why she took it there and didn't secure it someplace or carry it with her in her bag that, somewhere her mom, and better her mama than her dad, because had her dad seen it, because Pastor Clarence, Preacher Clarence, he don't play. So, she stays at her parents. Like I said, she's rebuilding, she's getting back to running. And first they're kind of on their nerves between, her father's sermon. She feels like that's personal. And the mom is kind of like, now this man plans his sermons out like weeks in advance. We didn't know that this is what was going to happen. Even though, like I said, these parents were not fond of this man. She tried to do her duty as a Christian to, I'm assuming they're Christian. Forgive me if they're not, to do the things that they had, do the things she needed to do to keep her home happy, if you will, and to keep her husband. And they've been together since they were 17 years old. And I think she's 39. She's about to be 40. And he kind of was telling her, like, nobody's going to want you at 40, baby. Don't let them tell you that. Don't let them tell you nobody don't want you at 40. Nobody don't want you with kids. By the way, she does not have any kids, which, thank God. But the father is also trying to push Benji on her. Now, Benji, he's also divorced, but they have a little history. He showed up at the bar earlier after the funeral, and the brothers was kind of on him like, don't make us kick your behind again. And I just was like, just menaces. And when they say menace to society, they were talking about the Bertrand brothers. So, the parents are trying to build her up. She's there, and they start to put on a video of happier times. So, I mean, when I tell you they have all of her accomplishments, graduating, running track, dancing, don't get at me if I got the wrong activities, because I didn't write it down, but all of her accomplishments, as well as we go into her wedding, which wasn't as joyful, and her life after. And the mom is kind of saying, she's like, well, why are you showing me this stuff? Because at first, she's got the happy tears when she sees all that she was, and then they're kind of showing her how she's become. She hasn't had a happy moment since she's been with this man, and it's kind of like, it's giving very Wakanda, show them who you are. And also it's giving very, we only have one child, because baby, when I tell you they documented everything. And as a parent, okay, I did that with my first, and I have fallen off since. I mean, sometimes my best friend has to pick up my phone or take pictures on her phone at, parties and such, because I'm just really bad at capturing the moment. So I really did appreciate that. So after a little while, Ava kind of warms up to Benji. She's seen him at church functions. She sees him at a carnival. And they kind of go off, and they're in the field in the back of this pickup truck. They drinking whiskey and stuff. It's very rural, because Ava now lives in Atlanta with Dallas, but they are also in Georgia in like a more rural town. Benji has a farm. Benji also has a daughter, but when they're in the back of this pickup truck, this is when we find out that she had been with Dallas in high school. They had a little breakup, and Dallas and his brother ended up putting Benji in a hospital because they were hanging out much like this, you know, getting a little twisted, getting a little libations, if you will. So, you know, mama wanted him to put that thing on her, but he was like, nah, like, I'm not going to do this when you're in the middle of divorce. And good decision, because with the way Dallas was carrying on, I'm glad that this is the decision that they made, although it doesn't last very long. So now, while they were at the carnival, somebody snapped a picture of the two of them and they sent it to Dallas. You know, he gets a phone call and the brother is like, did you get the picture? And the whole family's seen it and they believe that she's been cheating the whole time. This woman, from what we could see, like, with this is like a woman. Am I speaking of a woman that would, you know, be even capable of doing something like that? So Ava's finally, she had took a little time off from work, I think like a week or two. She works at a bank, and this is when she was staying at her parents, but you know, she's gone back home, she's gone back to work. And since the brothers have put the battery in his back, like, you still going to divorce her, right? He goes up to the bank and he makes a scene about signing the divorce papers. And I think it was this scene where he was like getting loud, and like I said, this is very heavy on get you a Rona, because he's basically telling her, you know, show up tomorrow and sign these papers, because he was getting bucked. And Rona was like, you can get out, okay? You can get out, sir. And he was like, don't lose your job. And she was like, F this job. I said, yes, sis. Yes. Tell him, like, we're not here to play. We don't play any of these games. So the next day she shows up. He's got Jim and his lawyer. She's got her homegirl Rona and no lawyer. She's got her bad freakum dress on. Okay, her give him hell 385, if you will. Her, you know, she's serving it to him. She don't even have a lawyer, right? She doesn't even have a lawyer, but she says she's read it. You know, his lawyer's trying to encourage her to get a lawyer, and she's like, I've read it. I don't want anything. I just want to sign the papers. Sign my papers and get my divorce. I know my tone is off, but you know, Love and Marriage DC. Anyway, so she basically signs the papers, and I thought that was going to lead to something. She said she read them, but you know, sometimes we read them. She works in the bank. Now, depending on what she does, she may be well versed in reading contracts, and maybe she's not. I was just worried that maybe she had signed something that was like, ha ha ha, you know, the house is really mine, or, you know, now you got to pay me palimony or what have you. But now he's upset that she signed the papers so quickly and easily. And I said, sir, it's really giving pick a struggle. It's really giving, do you want to be divorced or not? So now he just totally and fully believes that she was having an affair. So that night at Rona's house, they kind of have a divorce party for our girl. I mean, everybody shows up, including Benji, just having a really good time. But also, who shows up? This is at Rona and Jim's house. I don't know how Jim was friends with this man, let alone best friends, but Dallas shows up. He's drunk. He's outside in the truck, and he's insisting that, you know, she wanted this, and he wants to come in. He's mad at his friend. And Jim kind of has to stop him and get him to get out of here. And he does. And I think Rona had kind of slipped our girl like a little edible to kind of like relax, let her hair down, and kind of like get into the vibe, take the edge off. And Ava and Benji, they're dancing, and that night they go back to Ava's house and they do what grown folks do. So now the next morning, our good girl gets up and she tiptoeing out. She leaves homeboy in the bed and she's about to head off to work. When she gets downstairs, Dallas is downstairs in the kitchen eating some cereal. Okay, I said, what do we have going on here? So now she changed the locks, and yet here he is. And me, I don't know, with the way this man carried on, I don't know if I would continue to stay in that house after the divorce. Me personally, like, once it's signed over and we are officially divorced, you can't do nothing. I'm gonna sell that and I'm gonna move into something else, okay? And you're gonna have to find out where I live, okay? You might be able to roll up to my job, but you're not gonna interrupt my peace. So she tells him he's got to go, and he starts talking about he's willing to give it another shot. He's willing to forgive her, and he's gonna go to the car and get his things, and he'll be back. But at first, you know, sis is like, she don't give no 0 F. She make her little speech, and she's like, you know, you woke up the B in me, and she tells him he got to get the F out. So He's not listening to nothing she has to say. He take his happy ass on upstairs talking about he gonna take a shower. He finds Benji in the bed. So they get to tussling. First he getting the best of Benji a little bit. Then I remember Benji saying he took some type of karate, MMA, some type of something, wrestling. So he gets, they get to scrapping, and he gets him in that sleeper, and it's lights out. It's night Dallas. It's okay. Me, count those sheep. So Ava is furious, okay? And kudos to Megan Good. It's giving me a lot of What's Love Got to Do with It tease. The way Dallas was behaving and the acting and some things, and her getting the strength to drive this man and his dead weight out the bedroom door, down the stairs, and out the front door. Now, she did need Benji's help to pick him up and put him in that pickup truck and woke him up and told him to get out. But I was like, baby, mama had enough. You talk about a breaking point. So she tells him to get the F out. She goes on to work. And this fool is sitting outside her job all beat up. Rona is like, you need to get a restraining order. But Ava thinks that he'll move on. And I get where she was going with that, because I've been with not somebody that's been physical with me like that. But, sometimes them narcissists, when they on you, they be on you. But when they let you go, they let you go. So she's thinking, he'll move past it. Rona's got to call Jim. So Jim rolls up. I'm like, where do Jim work? Because Jim rolls up and has the conversations and tells him to let it go. Let it go. You got to get out of here. So Benji goes to the farm, and Pastor Clarence is there, or Preacher Clarence is there, along with the police, and his animals are dead. Now, we know who did it, but the police are like, they can't do anything about it. So Clarence said he's going to check on his baby. All right, he going into the city to check on his baby girl. And while he's doing that, Mama Jean is in the grocery store, and Dallas runs up on her and says it's all her fault. Like, you knew this was going on. You knew she was having an affair. And it's just like, child. And, also we have the picture of her at the fair. So it's he's screaming and yelling. He calling her all kinds of bees. And then he kind of just like, she's like, Ninja, you better get out my face, okay? And she's trying to get away. He grabbing the cart. He grabbing her arm. Nobody intervenes. This little rural town. Now, I don't expect, regardless of the race, to step in, but none of y'all gonna call the police. But she finally gets away from him, runs off, calling him the devil. So when Ava gets home, Dad has changed all the locks yet again, and he's put up cameras because Dad came to play no games. Ava is with Rona, and he asked, oh, did you get the restraining order? And she said, yeah. I said, daggone, that was quick. And usually it's not easy to get a restraining order from what I've heard. I've never tried to actually get one personally, but I've heard that it's not that easy. But Dad even got some straps, like some hardcore artillery, and Rona was with it, okay? Not to play no games. So later on, we at Jim and Rona's. We having a little date night. We got, Ava and Benji, obviously Jim and Rona, because this is their place. And Dallas rolls up on him. Now, he said that he came there to talk to his boy and kind of let his hair down, if you will, because he had got served at his job, and now he's suspended because Rona was like, you got a restraining order, about to call the police. So she does just that, she calls the police. Dallas is feeling betrayed by Jim, which I don't know how Jim was friends with him. So he kind of blows up the spot about Kelly. Now, Rona tries to play it cool till after Dallas leaves. And she says she did know about it. It was only once. He's kind of like, you knew that. So she kind of sends Ava and Benji away, and they have this conversation, and we move on from there. So Clarence, he was rushing. Like I said, are they in a sundown town? Because he's like, I got to get home before the sundown. And he's going to get to his wife. So now when he gets home, it's a small town. So somebody from the store, while they didn't call the police, somebody has called him and told him what Dallas did to his lady at the store. So he gets his straps and he's headed on over there. And she is screaming and yelling, begging him to stop. He's not listening. He's gone. She can't stop him. So she calls Ava. Ava's on, I don't know where Ava was on her way to, but she was in the car. So now Pastor or Preacher Clarence, he shows up to this trailer. He's screaming and yelling, looking for Dallas, and Dallas brings himself out because, he's all about the action. He's talking ish. Now, while he's talking ish, Clarence fires a warning shot, but the brothers have him surrounded. He don't see him because he ain't looking behind him. I said, now you should have bought somebody other than yourself, sir. Like, I get what you were doing here, but you should have bought somebody all yourself. So they start beating the mess out of this man. Mama had to stop them. We get him to the hospital, and the sheriff is like, he can't do anything again. And if he's like that, that's why I said I don't know how she got the restraining order so quickly, because everything else is such a process. So I've heard. So Ava sneaks off. And I'm like, I don't know who keeps sending this man Dallas these pictures of Ava. Now this picture was, where were they? I can't remember what the picture was, but she calls, one of them called each other. They're on the phone, Dallas and Ava. And he's kind of like, oh, I know you've been sleeping with. So she kind of plays into it. She's like, yeah, I've been sleeping with him and it's good. Because I think she probably called him to ask, like, you put your hands on my daddy. And she's like, yeah, I've been sleeping with him and it's good. I mean, she's just talking her right? Talking her ish. Talking about how good Benji is giving it to her and putting it on her. And she's like, I'm headed home to get me some more of it now. Now that's the setup, baby. Okay, that's the setup, because Ava knew what she came here to do. So now Benji's looking for her. He pulls up to, where did he go first? I want to say the mama's house, but I can't be too sure. So he calls Rona, and he's like, I don't know where she is. I can't find her. He tells Rona to go to the house and check on her. He's like, don't go by yourself. Bring Jim with you. And I was glad he said that, and I was glad she honored it. Because these dudes can get reckless and we don't know where it was gonna go. Like I said, the setup was in order. Mama was sitting there drinking her red wine like it wasn't no thing, and he does exactly what she thought he was gonna do. He breaks into her house and she's just waiting. She don't blink, she don't flinch, and she's like, did you hurt my daddy? Did you grab my mama? So now he got a little strap of his own, little small little something. He put that on the counter. Start to get a little worried. So she's like, first she starts off, saying, because we got to have the monologue in the movie. So she starts off by saying that Benji respected their marriage and he never reached out to her, and she never disrespected him. He's like, oh, you better had, you know how it goes. So, she's kind of saying like, she felt bad for him, but you never really wanted help. He didn't. So she starts talking basically about how, our past was trash, how bad the sex was, and how Benji is so good. And as she's talking ish, this is part of her plan. I didn't realize it at the moment. I should have known by the way she set the whole thing up. But, he smacks her and she's like, you hit like a bee. So he hits her again. She's like, that's all you got? So now he done thrown mama across the room. She across there in the kitchen. So he's talking about how he tried to be like his daddy, but his daddy was beating his mama, so he had to take him out. I'm like, that's all you're gonna give us? That's all you're gonna give us? Why him? I think he was the baby. Like, why did he have to be the one to do it? And like, obviously he feels some type of way about it, because like I said, this is where I get on to some things that happen with the mama. Because boys, I have 3 boys myself. They want to protect their mom, but sometimes you got to make sure they do the right thing. But this is what we gonna do. So Ava's kind of like, she's drawing the line when it comes to messing with her family. She's like, and you gave me the bruises that I need. So she calls the police. She she grabs that shotty. He's like, shoot me. And he lunges. She does exactly what he asked. And that'd be that. That's that. It's very F around and find out. So the police come, it's kind of a self-defense thing. That's what we were going for. Yeah. So Clarence, she's at the hospital. Clarence is at the hospital. They got the whole family with, I think it was like Rona, Jim, her mom, her dad, and they're leaving, and they run into Dallas's family. That's his brothers and his mom. And she's like, you took my boy out. Like, this is not over. She's like, no, it is over. Like, you might want to slow your roll. And she kind of walks away, and that's where we end. And I was like, it's giving lackluster. It's giving, we've seen it before. It's giving, that's all you got. Okay. And 2 hours for that? Okay. Now, a couple of things I did appreciate, and these are the things that Tyler Perry gets right now. While I didn't get to finish watching the interview between Megan and Shannon Sharp, I did hear that Tyler paid her worth, and he is known to do that. So kudos to him for that. Also, the cast was wonderful. You know, we had Megan Good, we had Corey Hardrick, which, like I said, you know, he was so good at the role. It was eerie. It was believable. I mean, somebody check on Tia. Maybe that's why they're divorced. I joke. I kid. We also had Debbie Morgan. We had what is Beyonce's mama's ex's name? Richard Lawson. If you know, you know. Who else do we have? The guy that played on Diarra from Detroit. I'm really not familiar with his name, and I did not realize he is also a Long Islander. So shout out to him. Great cast. You know, the wigs were, you know, what they do. I think Megan was doing her own hair very much like Miss Rowland's. But also what I took from it is kind of, we've all been through this situation on some level, you know, as women. I mean, maybe some men, but I'm a woman, so I'm going to speak for myself. We've all been through it on some level. Like, domestic abuse on this level, no, okay? But we've all been through it. The moral to the story is, you know, when they tell you who they are, believe them. Don't try to look at their potential. You don't let them mistreat you. You know, we tend to want to make people what they are, and that's just not how any of this works. And also, don't lose yourself in another person. So those were kind of my takeaways from the movies. It's given mediocre. I'm not quite sure what I would rate it, but I figured I would get up here and talk about it. I talked about mea culpa, so why not? Some people said that this was way better. I don't really get that from it either, but you know, the 2 hour things bothers me. It really bothers me because why? Because just why? We've seen it before, and we'll see it again, because you know why we keep watching. I watched, you probably watched, so you know, I think he's got 3 more movies to do a Prime Video, and I may or may not be back to talk about those. If you've made the video thus far, please leave a comment down in the comment section. I like to engage with you guys. Tell me what you thought of the movie. Was this better than Mea Culpa? Did you watch it? What was your favorite part? The acting was good. Like I said, the acting was good. The actors were good. So there's that. Just interact with your girl. Drop an emoji, something. That also helps my engagement. Also, I'm on the road to 1K by the end of the year, but 500 by July 5th. We are just July 15th. We're just days away from that. So share this video where you share your videos. You know, your girl, as always, appreciates you. Thank you and welcome to my new subscribers. I welcome everybody here. We like to have a good time over here. Your girl gets a little long with it. We like to talk. We like to give a lot of detail. There may be a kid in the background, but this is just, you know, generally how we roll. So I hope that you will come for the ride and stay, because, you know, we have fun over here. This is what we do. But that is all. I won't keep you any longer. Check out some of my other content, and I will see you good people in the next video. Peace.